everyone, and welcome to IoT Marketing Live. I'm Tiffani Neilson, and with me is the CEO and founder of IoT Marketing, Johannes Beekman. How are you doing today, Johannes?
I'm doing great, Tiffani. How are you?
Fantastic. And before we begin, I just want to wish everyone a very happy new year, and we hope that your holidays were amazing. And we're truly excited for all of the events that we have planned in 2024. And with that in mind, our first story is on CES, the Consumer Electronics Show, which returned to Las Vegas January 9th to the 12th. And when most people think of CES, they think of electronics for consumers and gadgets, but they don't exactly think of US senators, FCC commissioners, and other officials that are going to be headlining policy discussions in Las Vegas. According to TD Technology, the Consumer Technology Association, the CTA, has announced that the upcoming CES 2024 will include U.S. senators, FCC commissioners, and other senior government officials discussing a host of policies. On Friday, January 12th, the CES program will feature U.S. Senators Jackie Rosen, Ben Ray Lujan, and Cynthia Lummis, discussing the status of and outlook for key legislation affecting technology companies and American consumers. In addition, FDA Commissioner Robert Califf, FCC Commissioners Brendan Carr and Anna Gomez, and FTC Commissioner Rebecca Slaughter will participate in the Conversation with the Commissioner session, a series of one-on-one conversations beginning on Wednesday. Are you looking forward to attending CES this year, Johannes?
Oh, absolutely, Tiffani. And to show you that the CES is back from the pandemic, let me give you just two numbers, 130K or 130,000 attendees and 4K or 4,000 exhibitors. So having said that, I do have a question for you. Do you think we'll hear more about AI at CES?
Well, how could we not? It seems to be at the forefront of every conversation, whether that's talking about generative AI or AIoT. It seems everything's going that general direction. So absolutely, Johannes, without question.
So yes, it's be prepared for a tsunami of AI applications, Tiffani, and be ready for the usual avalanche of announcements of innovative products and technologies. Some of the major announcements expected at CES 2024 include product announcements from, and I'm just naming a few, AMD, LG, NVIDIA, and Qualcomm. And I would like to highlight that the CEO of Walmart will, in his keynote session, will explore the continuing digital transformation in retail. And there's so much happening at CES. I'm always and also looking forward to the IoT Pavilion, looking forward to meet old friends, and also looking forward to the space technology exhibit at CES. And to give you just one example, I definitely would like to learn more about Siemens's space balloon travel and tourism experience. Now, to circle back to the participation of government officials, and you mentioned a few already, but I'd like to highlight that over 160 international, federal, state, and local government officials will participate in the CES, and you'll see them at the Leaders in Technology program and the IPS Innovation, and you'll see them at the Innovation Policy Summit at the CES. Furthermore, another highlight, the Human Security for All, HS4A campaign, which is a global campaign led by the United Nations Trust Fund for Human Security, will also return to CES 2024. HS4A will host two Great Minds sessions at the CES. So it's going to be a great CES with lots of keynotes, meetings, announcements, and exhibitors.
Thanks, Johannes. And I also hear that Walmart is going to have a very big ride exhibit out in front of CES. So something else to look forward to at the show. And next, let's talk about another event. The GSMA hails groundbreaking spectrum decisions at WRC 23. The World Radio Communications Conference of 2023, the WRC 23, wrapped up its week-long meeting in Dubai, emerging with a global consensus on the harmonization of spectrum bands for mobile services, as well as regulations for high-altitude platform stations and spectrum for evolving satellite operations. RCR Wireless reports that among the decisions to emerge from WRC 23 were official harmonization of existing bands for 5G in the mid-band, specifically the 3.3 to 3.4 gigahertz and 3.6 to 3.8 gigahertz bands, which the U.S. State Department said creates 500 megahertz of contiguous mobile broadband spectrum across the entire region while providing the necessary interference protection to our federal agencies who also use some of this spectrum. The 2 and 2.6 gigahertz bands emerged as spectrum for support of high-altitude platform stations as IMT base stations, HIBs, and regulations were established for operations of such equipment. Wi-Fi advocates were cheering the WRC decisions related to the use of the upper 6 gigahertz band, while deciding to identify the upper 6 gigahertz spectrum for international mobile telecommunications, or IMT, in Europe, Africa, and a few other countries. The conference adopted an international treaty provision to explicitly recognize that this spectrum is used by wireless access systems such as Wi-Fi. The GSMA, meanwhile, noted that countries representing more than 60% of the world's population is asking to be included in the identification of this band for licensed mobile at WRC 23. And it declared that 6 gigahertz spectrum is now the harmonized home for the expansion of mobile capacity for 5G advanced and beyond. What are your thoughts on the declarations on spectrum harmonizations from WRC 23, Johannes?
Oh, I totally agree, and it's very necessary. But so let me put WRC 23 in perspective in the grand scheme of things. So the World Radio Communication Conference is organized by the International Telecommunication Union, or ITU, which is a specialized agency of the United Nations. 193 countries are members of the ITU, and the WRC is held approximately every 3 to 4 years and plays a crucial role in the international management of radio frequency spectrum and also satellite orbits. So what exactly does the WRC do? And I'll just highlight a few of its responsibilities. So, and we've seen that in the press release, the WRC reviews and if necessary revises the radio regulations, which is the international treaty governing the use of radio frequency spectrum and the geostationary satellite and non-geostationary satellite orbits. The WRC also allocates frequencies, or rather frequency bands. The conference addresses the introduction of new radio communication services and technologies, and we've seen that in the announcement, ensuring their access to the spectrum and orbits. It also facilitates the coordination and sharing of spectrum and orbital resources among countries to avoid harmful interference between radio services of different countries. The conference develops global standards for emerging technologies to ensure seamless global communications and interoperability. And going over the press release that was issued at the close of WRC 23, this actually was business as usual for the World Radio Communication Conference. So by the way, WRC 27 will be even more interesting. The preliminary agenda that the conference decided on contains several space to Earth, Earth to space, and space to space studies for radio communication regulation protocols.
It seems like we were really ahead of the curve when we did our space tech webinar, Johannes. Go. And now for our next story. New York strikes a $10 billion chip partnership with Intel, Micron, and others as New York State seeks to capture CHIPS and Science Act business. RCR Wireless shares semiconductor research and development will get a $10 billion boost in New York State with an announcement of what is being touted as the first and only publicly owned new high NA extreme ultraviolet lithography center in North America. The effort is in a partnership between the state of New York, Intel, Micron, and Applied Materials, Tokyo Electron, and others. New York is investing $1 billion, and the project is expected to create over 700 new direct jobs and retain thousands of jobs, according to the Office of New York Governor Kathy Hochul, as well as leveraging at least $9 billion in private spending and investment. The New York Center for Research, Economic Advancement, Technology, Engineering, and Science in New York is New York Creates, which is a partnership between Empire State Development, ESD, and the State University of New York, or SUNY. NY Creates will purchase and install the semiconductor lithography tool with Hachul in a press conference described as the most sophisticated semiconductor equipment on the planet. New York's investment will also fund the building of the NanoFab Reflection, a new building with more than 50,000 square feet of clean room space. Wow, Johannes, what are your thoughts on New York's semiconductor efforts?
Well, the semiconductor industry is very, very capital intensive, Tiffany. And reviewing the press release, it appears that, as you mentioned, the core of this investment is expansion of the clean room at the Albany Nanotech complex, along with installation of one ASML EXE 5200 high-NA EUV scanner, which, by the way, has a price tag of somewhere between 300 and 400 million USD. However, this tool, the 5200, is the only tool on the planet that's capable of printing the fine geometry needed for the latest Apple M3 chip or the latest NVIDIA H200 AI processor or any one of the latest generation of processors that are coming out. Therefore, if New York wants to continue growing its semiconductor industry, and they have been very successful in the past 20 years, New York State and its partners will have to continue to invest.
Thanks, Johannes. And when we look at the semiconductor manufacturing, it's also very water intensive. So that's something we could talk about more in our Green Things Summit, but I'll save that for later. Next, for electric bike company Bird, they filed bankruptcy, Fox Business reports. Bird Global files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy 2 years after going public. After losing nearly all of its market value since it began trading on the New York Stock Exchange through a special purpose acquisition company deal in November 2021 that valued the startup at $2.3 billion, the financial restructuring is the company's latest attempt to right the ship. According to Bird interim CEO Michael Washenshuni, the transformation began with the appointment of new leadership earlier this year. He also stated that Bird remains focused on their mission to make cities more livable by using micromobility to reduce car usage, traffic, and carbon emissions. Johannes, it seems to me that the race to zero is maybe caught up with Bird. And personally, I'm all for sustainability and sustainable best practices. And I think Bird was really ahead of the curve with this. So I'm pretty surprised by this news. And while I feel that, we should all have cars to drive and the option to drive cars, I know micromobility works in some environments, especially cities that are congested. So I'm just really, I'm puzzled by this, that Bird would go bankrupt. But what are your thoughts? Are you surprised at all, Johannes?
Well, so I took a deeper dive into Bird, the company finances, and it's really a complicated story, Tiffany, but let me unpack this. So Bird Global had a very turbulent 2023. They went from Wall Street darling when they went to Wall Street to delisting, and the listing happened in September 2023. Also, 3 CEOs led Bird in 2023. First, the founder/CEO left in July, and then Bird had 2 other CEOs, interim CEOs, in the second half of the year. So it was turbulent on the leadership team too. Then Bird also made 2 acquisitions in 2023. First, Bird Global acquired Bird Canada, which was still an acquisition, in January of 23, and Spin in September of 23, which these 2 acquisitions positioned them as the largest micromobility operator in North America by market share. And then, of course, Bird filed bankruptcy on December 20, 2023. Interesting part of this bankruptcy is that only Bird US went bankrupt. The company's Canadian and European business were not included in bankruptcy. And Bird says that it will continue to operate as usual during the court-supervised bankruptcy process. So it's been a very turbulent year. I don't think there's something. This is financial bankruptcy, so they're trying to reorganize all the debt structures, etc. So we'll see what happens in 23. I'm not worried about them. I think they'll come back. They are the biggest one in this market. So I do see that they will continue, and they will continue driving the price down. So now looking at the market, because that's the other aspect of this, the scooter rental and micromobility markets are fragmented. So we should expect consolidation as what we've seen with Bird. However, according to several market research reports, the scooter rental market is expected to show a healthy compound annual growth rate of between 13 and 20% over the next 5 years. So the scooter rental market is a challenging market, but which market isn't? But it's still a fast-growing market.
Thanks, Johannes. And speaking of bankruptcy, FTX files reorganization plan to end bankruptcy. This is another Fox business story that I couldn't resist sharing after the success of our Smart Money 4.0 webinar. And if you want to catch that, you can catch that on demand, and you can find out more about that at iotmktg.com. And FTX filed an amended reorganization plan over the weekend, providing a framework for ending bankruptcy and returning money to investors and customers. Apparently, the failed cryptocurrency exchange is proposing to value the firm's assets at the date of its bankruptcy. This move may make creditors cringe, given the price of Bitcoin has more than doubled value since the time of bankruptcy filing on November 11, 2022. FTX creditors are to vote next year on whether to approve the bankruptcy plan. The latest proposal did not reveal whether FTX plans to resume operations after its bankruptcy. That and other key details are expected in future filings, including how much creditors can expect to receive back. I find this article very interesting, and I feel like I should just grab a tub of popcorn to watch this all unfold. It seems like a movie plot. But what are your thoughts, Johannes?
So, well, my take on this is that after 13 months of bankruptcy, FTX filed its latest proposal to exit bankruptcy with a new Delaware court. The plan is, as you mentioned, is expected to encounter opposition from various creditor groups until it receives court approval. So likely we can expect that it will be modified. And the hearing date to discuss the plan is scheduled somewhere in this year, 2023. Now, on top of that, last week, the Wall Street Journal published an article with the headline, FTX says it is owed billions, has filed about a dozen lawsuits to realize its claims. The Wall Street Journal also mentioned that FTX has indicated the possibility of more litigation in its second year of restructuring. So I don't think one type of popcorn is going to cut it, Tiffani. You'll need more, so to be continued.
Thanks, Johannes. And our final story, DARPA and Raytheon are making a wireless energy web. According to the Inquirer, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, awarded Raytheon a $10 million contract to create a wireless internet for energy. The Persistent Optical Wireless Energy Relay, or POWER, will deliver energy to U.S. military equipment. As a result, it could remove or reduce the military's dependence on fossil fuels, delivery, and storage. Surprisingly, this technology may have mainstream adoption, as the article highlighted that many of the devices and substances we enjoy today were once exclusive to the military. In the future, wireless energy webs could remove the need to recharge our devices by linking them to power outlets. Instead, the cloud could refill our batteries. Well, since you found this story, Johannes, I'm curious, how soon do you predict that this technology will be publicly available?
Well, first off, when I found this article, it seriously reminded me of Nikola Tesla's vision of wireless electricity transfer, albeit in a modern form. So instead of energy towers, we employ UAVs, and instead of energy transmission or electricity transmission, we utilize lasers. But clearly, because this is an official program of DARPA, and they have recognized both the necessity and challenges involved in this project. So we are now entering the initial phase of DARPA's, as you mentioned, POWER, or Persistent Optical Wireless Energy Relay program, where 3 teams will design and develop wireless optical power relays. The program's objectives include demonstrating the key components required for a resilient, speed-of-light energy network. Will it become reality? In some form, yes, and maybe even the form that we are thinking about right now. The timeline, however, remains uncertain given its military applications. And we, the public, may only become aware of this technology when the government decides to release it for civilian use.
Thanks, Johannes. And that just about wraps things up for today. But to hear more about the newest emerging trends for 2024, please register now to attend our 2024 Emerging Trends webinar. We will be discussing all of the hottest trends for IoT and high tech on Thursday, January 25th. And we still have a couple speaking spots available. So if you are interested in participating in this event or one of our upcoming events, such as the Green Things Summit in April, our AI Day, Intelligent Thinking, that's coming up in July, or perhaps our Summit of Things in October, please reach out to us. We'd love to have a conversation or a conversation about how we can help you reach your marketing and sales goals in 2024. And you can do all of that at iotmktg.com. Be sure to register for emerging trends. Johannes, anything you'd like to add?
Well, just like to reiterate, we have a very exciting program lined up for 2024, featuring 5 major events in addition to our regular monthly broadcast. And yes, if you're looking to start the year strong, we're here to assist in filling your sales pipeline for 2024. So please don't hesitate to reach out and schedule an appointment to discuss which events and marketing service would be the best fit for you.
Thanks, Johannes. So whether it's content creation, if you'd like design services, production services, sponsorship opportunities, speaking opportunities, we have so much available, and we'd love to share all of these opportunities with you. So please reach out to us at iotmktg.com. And that wraps up today. So thank you again for joining us, and happy 2024. I hope it's off to a great start, everyone. Thank you, Johannes.
Thank you, Tiffany, and happy 2024.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.